Let's not make too big a deal. They almost blew this lead. They came back. They won. The White Sox have been very up and down. We understand that. 2 out of 3 they lost in Houston. Jesse Rogers knows all the things about Cubs and White Sox in that town. We'll do the Cubs, too. But, Jess, they can scream, fire Tony until the cows come home. And they can sit there and argue about Trey Turner with the walk until the cows come home. He's not getting fired, all right? And the idea that La Russa somehow is the game has passed him by. Were they saying that last year when they won the division? So, I mean, he might be 76, 77. He knows what he's doing. What's your take on all that first? Go ahead. Let me hear.
Well, look, I just talked to him a few minutes ago. He is fine with taking all that heat because, like you said, he's an owner that believes in him. He's comfortable in his own skin, and it takes the heat away from his players. I'm telling you, Chris, nobody in Chicago that's a White Sox fan talks about their players as much as they do the manager. The manager is a lightning rod. He doesn't mind that. So, look, they did win with him last year. Has he been a plus? Has he been a negative? Maybe he's just been a guy in the dugout. Most guys in the dugout are just that. They're guys that you can pluck on any team, and they can just do as well as anyone. There's a few special ones and maybe a few that don't deserve the job. So they're not losing because of Tony La Russa as much as fans want to believe that.
100%. The Turner thing we can debate all night. I know it was a bad move. You're 2 strikes, you got to pitch to him, and I know that fueled everything. What is your take on where the team is right now? They've been spunky. They were competitive in Houston despite losing the 2 games. They buried the Tigers. Nice comeback. Well, nice win last night. At least they won against Toronto. What is your take on this White Sox group right now? Still battling, to get to 500 and get above it, and got to worry a little bit about the Guardians and the Twins. What's your take? Let me hear. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm not just saying this because I'm on with you, but I think this is their best position that they've been in all season. Offensively, they are starting to come around, Mad Dog. Just since Saturday, now think about this. They've beaten Verlander. They won a game. Kevin Gausman started last night. They beat Jose Barrios, and they're doing it going up the middle and to the opposite field. The most hits up the middle and to the oppo field over just the last week. Now, what they're doing, Mad Dog, is they're leaning into their right-handed hitters. This is a very right-handed heavy team, just like the Blue Jays. In fact, the Sox and Blue Jays have the least amount of home runs from the left side of the batter's box in all of baseball. But Tony La Russa now is stacking his lineup with his best righties at the top, and they're starting to come through. This might come back to bite them in the playoffs like it did last year, but for now, they've got to lean into that. Their righties, Vaughn, Anderson, Abreu, these are their best hitters. They need to put them at the top of the lineup, and they're going the opposite way. You saw Josh Harrison win the game with one up the middle. This is the best I felt about the White Sox right now. Cleveland and Minnesota, and I like Cleveland a lot. They're playing each other twice in the next week. I think Minnesota has Boston, so their schedule's a little tougher. The White Sox get the Orioles for 4 starting tomorrow. This division's going to be tight, I think, for a while, and I think the Sox are going to make a move now.
I 100% agree. Now, listen, Kopech has been banged up now. Lynn hasn't pitched a lot. I know Cease has been good. I don't love their starting pitching. What is your take on their starters there down the road? Giolito, of course, okay. Not good last year against Houston. Do they have enough starting pitching to last 162 and win the division? What's your take on that?
Yeah. No, I think they do. I think they do. They have not been great so far. It's been a little inconsistent. First of all, Johnny Cueto's been awesome. Dylan Cease found something last night, Mad Dog. 11 strikeouts, all on his slider. That's the most of the season, along with Clayton Kershaw, and the most by a White Sox pitcher since Chris Sale in 2012. Cease may have figured something out. Look, I don't have a problem with Kopech, Giolito, any of them. They're all good on paper. Now let's see them do it 2, 3, 4 times through the rotation here, where they're just putting together a big run, 10-2 or 14-1, like we saw the Braves do based on their starting pitching. I actually like it, Mad Dog. I think they're going to go into the trade market looking for a left-handed bat and a left-handed reliever. Most teams are looking for starting pitching. I don't think they need it. I really don't.
And La Russa is safe no matter what happens. For next year and beyond, are you willing to say that at all or no?
I think when La Russa leaves, it'll be on his own terms. I don't think it'll be a firing. It'll be either a mutual thing or he'll walk away. So the answer to your question is yes, he's safe. I don't think Jerry Reinsdorf looks at him as a negative in that dugout at all. They did win with him. They're doing okay right now as they're trending in the right direction. But let's see how this thing plays out. I mean, if they go in some tailspin, things could change. But it'll be on his own terms for sure.
All right, the Cubs. Let's do that. Now, first off, they've been terrible. I understand that. There's not a lot of hope there. This is very bleak. I'll do the history of the Cubs in a sec, but how bad is it right now on the north side with how bad the Cubbies are playing? Let me get your thoughts on that.
No, it's really bad. Management and ownership kind of raised expectations a little in the offseason. We're going to battle for the wild card or whatever. That was never the case. So I feel like they, gave a false sense of security about 2022, but really it was never there. Now, having said that, Marcus Stroman, Wade Miley, Drew Smyly, 3 veteran starters they brought in, all on the shelf, really contributed very little. But this is a rebuild, no matter how they want to say it. The question is, how long will it take, Mad Dog? Is it a year or two? Is it 3 or 4 years like it was the last time? That's what we're all wondering in Chicago. It feels like a longer rebuild than they first maybe intimated in the offseason because of how bad they're playing right now.
Now, one thing about the Cubs, and I've read a lot of stories about how the Cubs, what a disgrace this is, blah, blah, blah. A little unfair. In 15, they beat the Cardinals, lost to the Mets in the NLCS. 16, they won it all. 17, they beat the Nationals, lost to the Dodgers in the NLCS. 18, they lost to Milwaukee in the wild card round. 19, Kimbrel destroyed them at the end of the year when they got buried by the Cardinals. 20, they won at short season, but they won the division, and they ended up losing to the Marlins. Last year bad, this year bad. I got to give them a little break. Now, if they're terrible next year and there's no sign of improvement, okay. But I got to give them a little break because for 5 or 6 years, Jesse, they won. They were good for 5 of them in the postseason and won a championship. So to me, they deserve a little break for the second bad year in a row. What's your take on that? Let me hear. Go ahead.
I actually do agree with you. I think we'd be in the minority. I don't mind a 1-year setback. I've been saying this for a while. A 1 year, let's reset things. And I'll tell you why it happened. All those guys, the veterans, came up at the same time. That's partly the Cubs' fault, and not really, but they brought them up and then they moved on from them. But at the same time, and this is the Cubs' fault, they didn't replace them with a wave of talent coming up from the minor league system. So those two things happened at the same time. Their farm system didn't produce, and then Rizzo, Baez, and Bryant all had to move on for whatever reason. So when that happens, what are you supposed to do? Try to buy a championship? Having said that, why can the Dodgers, why can the Cardinals, why can the Yankees, for the most part, keep fielding competitive teams? And that's why I think we're in agreement. 1 year. That's all you get. 1 year to step back. But you better move quickly, and you better sign some guys because fans are going to revolt. They're about to trade Wilson Contreras next month, and that's really going to cause a riot on the north side of Chicago.
Now, remember, Bryant's done nothing for the Rockies. That turns out that might be a disaster. And Baez is hitting 180. I got a couple of hits last night. Let's not put him in the Hall of Fame. So the two guys, and Rizzo is Rizzo, and obviously he's helped the Yanks. But let's be fair. If anybody in Chicago says, why do we let Bryant go? Why do we get Baez go? Take a look at what they're doing for the Tigers and the Rockies. That, to me, gives them a little break. No?
No, it does. And here's the thing. People are being critical of ownership now. Just think if Bryant and Baez were having huge years, how mad they'd be. So it's easy to fall back on ownership. They did spend when the Cubs were ready to win. I think they'll spend again. Maybe I'll be proven wrong. But you can't wait 5 years to spend. You have the highest sort of a monetary experience when you go to Wrigley Field of any team in the league. When you talk about parking and tickets and everything, it's been documented, Mad Dog. So you can't take a 3-year step back. You've got to get right back into that free agent market and pick the right guys. Jed Hoyer said it on the radio today. You have to pile good decision on top of good decision on top of good decision. They need to start doing that.
Yeah, interesting. I'll give them this year. You're right. The winner will be, we'll keep an eye on it. Good job, Jess. Always a pleasure. We will talk soon. Thanks for a couple minutes today.